The thing that's really fascinating, I'm going to talk about primarily photovoltaics and what you can do with photovoltaics. Photovoltaics or solar cells, everybody thinks of solar cells as heating air or heating water. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about making electricity. And the key ingredient in any modern society, whether it's here, whether it's in Europe, is electricity. You can't do anything. Computers, lights, etc., etc., etc. Right now, this year, it will be a $19 billion a year business. By 2010, these are not my numbers. These are from Photon International, which is one of the definitive texts on photovoltaics from Germany. And this lecture is to get you out of the cave. You live in a very insulated area here. The world is embracing this technology, and you in this area have more answers than anybody else in the world. If you're going to take anything away from this conference or this talk, remember that. And we're talking millions of jobs. Millions of jobs. It's going to go from 19 billion, which it is now, to 2010, it'll be a $72 billion a year business. That's all solar cells. And again, these are not my numbers. This is from the industry. By the year early 2020 or in the late teens, 2017, 2018, which is well within your lifetime, hopefully, Linda, it's within our lifetime. God be willing and the creek don't rise or whatever. You'll do well with 2020, I think. It'll be a $1 trillion a year industry. There's million, there's billion, and there's trillion. There's not too many of these. The oil and gas industry worldwide, which, and I won't get into the politics of oil and gas, but you add to the $2 trillion now, $2 trillion for the cost of the war in Iraq, not present tense, but when you finally finish up everything, lost revenues from oil, et cetera, 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 $2 trillion. Oil and gas is about a $3.5 trillion per year industry. Photovoltaics will be a $1 trillion a year industry by the early part of this century. Why? And how can we indicate that? Something happened this year that has never happened before in history. The base of a solar cell is silicon. And again, I just came back from Silicon Valley for this solar 2006. The year 2006, there was more silicon devoted to photovoltaic cells than there were to computer chips. Never happened before. Okay? So we're telling you a little something about looking into the future. The photovoltaic industry will eclipse the computer industry. Pretty big stuff. Heavy-duty stuff. And you know where a lot of it started, or a lot of it can be produced, or is produced, and is talked about and is exhibited? Right here in Michigan. And of course, everybody's talking about, oh, poor Michigan, everybody's walking around, gray skies. Car industry's going a heck in a handbasket. Furniture industry's been depressed and all that stuff. Your cup is either half empty or half full. It's up to you to determine where you want to be. So this has happened just this year. Photovoltaics is the direct one-step conversion of light into electricity. It's non-polluting. There's no NOx, no SOx, no CO2, and no rocks. Rocks are considered particulates. Soot. NOx is nitrous oxide. That's smog. SOx is sulfur dioxide. That's acid rain. They mix together. CO2, of course, CO2 and methane are the major global warming gases. And whether you believe in global warming or not, that's your freedom. Okay? But the overwhelming evidence of the Union of Concerned Scientists, help me, the organization of, it's not organization, but the Union of Concerned Scientists, the overwhelming evidence that global warming, you are living it. You are experiencing it. It's here. And again, how do you determine things like that? You have satellites that not only measure temperatures, they measure ice masses, they measure snow cover, be depleted, etc. The snows at Kilimanjaro don't exist anymore. If you go out to Glacier National Park, I've been there half a dozen times. The last time I was out there, which was last summer, they didn't name it Glacier National Park for no reason. They said there used to be 300 glaciers. There's now about 20 to 30, and if you don't come there before 2020, interesting, the number 2020. If you don't get there before 2020, they're all gone. Something's going on. All right. It's major global warming gas, but we're not here to talk about global warming. One of the reasons I went into this industry is health. In anesthesia, we do a lot of pulmonary care. We take care of the ventilators up in the intensive care units and stuff like that. So you'd see a lot of people with chronic pulmonary disease, asthma, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The facts are out now in the journals of medicine. And this has been a 25-year study in multiple areas of the United States. For every decrease of 1 microgram per cubic meter, microgram of soot, the reduction of deaths from cancer, heart disease, asthma, etc., is 3%. So for every 1 microgram per cubic meter that you reduce, the salvage rate is about 75,000 deaths are prevented per year. The largest, I talked about electricity when we started, the largest producer of electricity in the United States at about 65% are coal-burning power plants. You can draw a direct line to soot between diesel engines and coal-burning power plants. That's the major cause of soot. Now, you'll look out and say everything is just nice and wonderful, it's all clear. These are particles that are 2.5 microns or less. Big secret, you can't see them. But you're breathing them in every day. Okay? The more air you exchange, the more you concentrate in your lungs. All right, so that's one of the reasons, besides the global warming gases, the pollution prevention. And the pollution are all these different things here. And everybody says, well, we live in West Michigan and there's not enough sunlight. You'll take a look at some of the installations that are up there on these pictures. The first one on the right, that's in sunny Southern California. The one in the middle is your Merrick Center. There's 30,000 watts of the photovoltaics that are going around. The one to the left is Jarecki Center at Aquinas College, Grand Rapids. As you can see, there's space and military applications. The one in the bottom right-hand corner is Fairfield University. That's where I graduated from. Well, I'm not a grandfather yet, but many, 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 many years ago. I point to Linda because we're pretty much contemporaries. And what's that? Making you feel well. I'm sorry. I'll stop it, all right? Well, at least you're not pregnant. She's pregnant because you know where she's coming from. Yeah, if we'd have a problem on that one, huh? Everybody says they work here. Not only do they work here, but we're going to go over something here in just a little bit, and I'll leave it for then. Factories in Greenville, Michigan. I'll talk a little more about that, where that product will be produced. But the solar fuel, which is free, it's distributed, it's clean, is 5 million quads of energy per year. A quad is a quadrillion BTUs. Everybody know what a BTU is? British Thermal Unit. It's a measure of energy. The world uses 350 to 400 quads per year. So you've got 15,000 times. You look perplexed. Can you see all right? Oh, okay, all right. You've got 15,000 times more fuel than you would need to power the world. Well, what's going on here? Why is there such a disconnect? Well, the world's changing. This growth, like I say, is about 50 to 55% a year. It has a doubling rate of every 2 years. So if it's 19 billion in 2006, like I was saying before, and you do the doubling rate, you're out to about 2017, 2018. Any questions so far? All right. There's two aspects to it, the solar world. Inventions. Anybody an inventor in the audience? Anybody have inventive ideas? This is a talk hopefully about, or what did you invent, or what inventive ideas?
Inventive ideas?
Yeah.
We have inventive ideas.
Okay, good. And that's what part of this is, because what I'm going to talk about is infinity times infinity times infinity. Infinity cubed. You're only limited by your imagination. Okay? Infinity one is the photovoltaic industry, the particular solar cell that you, and inventors. The particular solar cell that's being passed around was invented by Stanford Ovchinsky, a machinist from Detroit. He not only invented the solar cell, the thin film amorphous solar cell, he invented the machinery that makes it. That industry by itself will be $1 trillion a year. The second industry are rechargeable batteries. There's a little company in Michigan, in Muskegon, Michigan, that I was part of a group that founded it. We make the nickel metal hydride rechargeable battery. We're not the only ones. There's about 39 companies in the world that make it. This gentleman also was the inventor of the nickel metal hydride battery. Why are batteries so important? And the correct battery? Well, first of all, everything's wireless, right? If it isn't wireless now, it's going to get more and more and more and more wireless. Cell phones, laptop computers, wireless internet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whenever you have something wireless, you have to power it without a wire and without the grid. Ergo, you start doing things like this. To charge the battery, you need something with it. So this is a camera. This is made by Canon. There's 4 AA rechargeable batteries in it. The front of it is the same thing. Where's the solar cell now? Okay. The same thing that you've got in your hand there. So the solar cell charges the battery with any type of light. This is the nickel metal hydride battery. It's a closed fuel cell.
Nick, is this out there right now?
That's out in the world now, yes. This is a nickel metal hydride battery. This particular one isn't made in Muskegon. It is marketed in Muskegon. All batteries pretty much now are made in China. But if you're going to pick a battery, and you're all familiar with the latest recall of Dell, IBM, Toshiba, Fujitsu, there's about 10 million laptop battery packs. There's 8 in each pack. So you're up to almost 100 million batteries that are being recalled right now for one basic reason. They catch fire and they blow up. So you want a technology that not only works very well, that's totally recyclable, but it's safe. This is the technology that's in every hybrid car worldwide. You saw some hybrid cars out today. Not that we supply that, but other companies that have licenses. But that battery was developed in the state of Michigan. The solar cell was developed in the state of Michigan. The battery was. Toyota, who if you look at the numbers for sales and you look at the business numbers versus General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, if you're going to place some bets, I'd place my bets on Honda or Toyota. Just look at the numbers. Toyota has said to the world that by 2010, every model they have available will be hybrid. By 2012, every car and truck they manufacture, not just model, everything they make will be hybrid. What does a hybrid car do? Because of the battery, you recapture the energy that you would have lost going down a hill, using the brakes, etc., etc. The electric motor now activates the car and works simultaneously with the gasoline engine, which you were very fortunate to have here, not only hybrid cars, the Ford Escape, I think there was a Honda Civic hybrid, but you also have alternative fuel vehicles now. based on biodiesel, based on ethanol, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you can run those alternative fuels through a hybrid engine. And then the hybrids eventually will become diesel hybrids, and then you can start using the low sulfur, coal-based from coal and from biodiesel into the diesel engine and through the hybrid drivetrain.
I just wanted to comment that I think GM made a diesel hybrid that got 95 miles
Right,
per gallon,
right.
something like that.
Correct. They did the preset several years ago, and it was a 6-passenger vehicle, 6-passenger vehicle, and they did get 80 to 85 miles per gallon. And, you know, it becomes a political football and all this stuff, but our backs are to the wall for any number of reasons. The geopolitical part of the Persian Gulf, they have 70% of the oil, the global warming aspect, and we are at peak oil, meaning that the world has gone through about 1 trillion barrels of oil over 100 years. And we got about 1 trillion barrels left. It's not going to take 100 years to go through those trillion barrels. We probably have another 25 to 30 years to go through those trillion barrels because everybody's got cars now. China, Japan, India, Indonesia, South America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The world of cars is little less than 1 billion, I think. I think they're pretty close to 1 billion. They will eclipse 1 billion, if not this year or next year. Okay, so if you have a generator, a source of energy, a solar cell, that's infinity. You have wireless, you have a rechargeable battery, one that's safe, that's another infinity. And then you now go to energy efficient devices. So instead of using a lot of solar cells and a lot of batteries, you use a little amount of solar cells and a little amount of batteries. What's a good example of that? And here come the inventors. People are always tinkering. People are always inventing. Who was responsible for the electric light? Edison, of course. Then you go now to the compact fluorescent light, which consumes about 1/4 the energy of this for the same amount of light. That's Nikola Tesla, the father of alternate current. Then you go from the Edison light to the compact fluorescent to what are called LEDs, light-emitting diodes. That uses, to get the equivalent amount of 40-watt light, 1/10 the amount of energy. So now, if I'm going to power this with a solar cell and a battery pack, I can now power this for 1/10 the size of the battery pack and 1/10 the size of the solar cell. I've just decreased the cost of the system enormously. That little solar cell that's floating around, that is part of a system. And again, this does nothing by itself, okay? But when you plug it in to a battery pack, in this case a nickel metal hydride battery pack, this was developed by Light Corporation, Grand Haven, Michigan. The battery pack is from Harding, Muskegon, Michigan, and the solar cell is from United Solar Ovonic, both Greenville, Michigan, and Auburn Hills, Michigan. So that's a system. This product goes all over the world. So you have a generator, you have storage, and the efficient use of energy. Now we're changing this from a compact fluorescent to the LED lights. So we shrink the size of the solar cell. The solar cell now to run this light is about this size. And the battery pack to run this light is about 1/3 the size. There's about 12,000 of these in the world. They've gone all over the world. Because they're wireless. Once this is shipped out, that's all you need. You don't need any petroleum products. You don't need anything. That'll take care of itself. One charge on that will run the light for about 6 hours, and it'll charge about 1,000 times. So you're looking at 6,000 hours runtime of this product. Okay. How long is this supposed to go?
I think it's 50 minutes with questions.
50, okay. You can interrupt at any time. Any questions at this juncture?
Well, like you were talking about the hybrid cars with diesel. Have
they done any testing with ethanol?
Yes.
Is anyone working on that?
Yes, they're working on many different fuels. Can I cover that just at the end there, and I will.
That's
Okay.
fine, no problem.
But they're yes, and there's also a little bugger there called hydrogen, which we'll talk about. All right, so you've got products in the microcosm, cameras. You see the picture of the military applications. The military uses the solar cells for battery charging for the telecommunication aspect. They also use it for the eye in the sky. These are lighter than aircraft that are going to go up to about 80,000 feet, and they'll be the homeland security, they'll be telecommunications, et cetera, et cetera. They're non-tethered. They're powered by the battery and the solar cell on the skin of the dirigible, and they're above, so where there's no wind and there's no commercial air traffic. Welcome, come on in. Or are you just looking for Jack? How you doing?
Sorry.
That's right.
I couldn't figure where I left this thing. Talk to you later.
So that, you too. So that's the eye in the sky, so that'll be watching all major ports, all major airports, but also it's going to be a source, there'll be a platform underneath it for telecommunications. So instead of running your signal to all these cell towers, you run your signal up to the air, and you go from dirigible to dirigible to dirigible. So one of these dirigibles can cover the area of about Houston, Texas. So just think of the number of cell towers in Houston. This can be covered by one spacecraft. But you need power up there. You need power generation and storage. And of course, anything that's wireless. And then you've got the batteries. Like I say, the only battery in hybrid cars is the nickel-metal hydride battery. There's no lithium-based batteries in any car, and there never will be because of the safety factor. The car companies have enough to deal with gasoline and exploding gas tanks. They don't need an exploding battery next to the gas tank. Telecommunications, big market for it. Road signs. You see all the roads under repair. Every time you see a big arrow or a big sign that says when they're going to close, those are all powered by solar cells. Massive market for it. Then, this may be big. This is huge cubed. Building integrated photovoltaics. You can put the photovoltaics not only on the roof, but you can actually put the photovoltaic thin film right in the glass window. So the skin of the building then becomes a generator of electricity. Roofs and windows, and then eventually it'll come to central power plants in the desert, like Arizona, New Mexico, California, where the whole power plant will make power by sunlight and then push it over the transmission lines. But this is what you want to keep very, very close, not only if you're looking for inventions, not only if you're looking for jobs, not only you're looking to increase the tax base of the state of Michigan. Workstage is a Grand Rapids business, half owned by Steelcase, half owned by Galen Wentworth, which is a big real estate company out east. Workstage put up your Merrick Center, 2002, did that go on? And now they put up buildings. We're dealing with them on several projects in Montana, several projects in Hawaii. But part of the reason they get interested, the customer gets interested, they see the Merrick and the Merrick Center, and they see what's possible. They say, well, we want one of those. Not only is it LEED certified, but it's UPS, uninterruptible power supply, and it's the building is the power plant and makes clean energy. It's a net carbon zero building or approaching net carbon zero, and it's a net electric energy building or net energy zero building. Net zero energy building, sorry. But that's propagated by Workstage right in your hometown. When we first started with Workstage, they started in 2000. They're about a $100 million a year company now. But also very interesting, it was vertical integration of Steelcase. As you all know, the office furniture industry has, after the dot-com bust, went way down. In the short period of time of 2000 to present tense, Steelcase's largest customer is, believe it or not, Workstage, because when they put up the workstage building, they guarantee that the building will be filled with steel case furniture. Boy, is that smart. And the buildings had been passive, but as of Merrick, they're now active. So you actually can go into the building, have the steel case furniture, have the Michigan-based, which I'm just going to go there in just a second, solar cell on the roof, and now the building makes its own power. So what you can do with that, now the third thing that you do with that, so you went from a passive building to an active building. Now the bankers look at this and they say, wait a minute, we're going to pay for the photovoltaics plus all the incentives that I was talking about before, like in California. There's also the energy bill where there's a 30% you get off the top of the cost of this as part of the energy bill that just was passed. Unlimited for commercial. But you also now have the bankers. This has a 20-year warranty on it. So the bankers come in, GE Capital, et cetera, they come in and say, okay, for that building, we're going to write the customer a 10, 12, 14, 15-year, 20-year power contract because this stuff's free. They know they have a 20-year warranty, and they know how much it's going to produce. So they put the money, the banks put the money up front, and then write the power contract with the inhabitants of the building, or the renters of the building.
And were they selling to the grid?
Yes, and then say it's a Sunday afternoon, then there's nobody then they sell to the grid. Does everybody understand that concept? So you put up a building, you fill it with steel case furniture, you put a Michigan-based technologies in the building to make power. And now you have Michigan-based bankers or outside bankers write a power contract with the occupants of the building. And they love it because they know their electric rates are going to be the same for 20 years. Whatever they work the rates out, 10 cents kilowatt hour, 12 cents kilowatt hour, 13 cents kilowatt hour. Right now in California, when you hit the peak loads, peaking power can go up as high as 65 cents a kilowatt hour. You're paying around here about 10 cents. The beautiful part about solar cells is that they come on early in the morning, blank out about 9 o'clock at night in the summertime, but they peak when there's the greatest demand for energy. So what they do is they clip the peak of this most expensive energy. So everybody's happy. So the solar cell company comes in, the cells are bought by the bank runs a 15, 20-year contract with the occupants for whatever price they pick. And it's a reasonable price, but it's for a 15 to 20-year period. And if you didn't do that, and you look now 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, 4 years, you don't know what your electric costs are going to be. You have no idea. Because there's all these forces. There's pollution working on the utilities. The utilities are old. Their poles and wires are falling apart. There was such a thing called deregulation about 7 years ago, and part of that deal was that they would freeze their rates for 7 years. Guess what? Deregulation is over in January. There are parts of Illinois, the power bills are going to go up 25 to 50%. We're working on an island off of Maine now. We share a love for Maine. Her parents have a place there, and my cousin lives there. It's an island off of Maine, about 45 square miles. Is that right? Square miles, yeah. About 6,000, 7,000 people in the summertime. Their electric rates are 33 cents a kilowatt hour because they're 20 miles at sea. They have an underground cable from the mainland. So these are real easy for these technologies to pick. Does everybody understand all that? Okay. Cost right now to put up an entire system for solar cells is about $7.50 to $8 per watt. Okay? That works out to about 22 cents a kilowatt hour. That's 2006. Okay? And that's without rebates. There's tons of rebates out there from California, North Carolina, New Jersey, plus a federal tax bill where you can take 30% of the cost off the top. But take a look at that number and then start going to numbers like this. Looks pretty attractive, doesn't it? Now, the best news is this. The thin film. This is a thin film technology. Is everybody following? I'm all over the place here, but is everybody following what's going on here? Okay, you're sitting right on top of the bubble. You are. Because what I'm going to talk about is Greenville, Michigan. That'll be the largest plant in the world, to make thin film solar cells. That's United Solar Ovonic. These are the solar cells that are on your Merrick Center. This one that we've just passed around. The total semiconductor that does all the changing of the light to electricity is 0.6 microns thick. Okay? A micron is 1/150th the thickness of a human hair. So this is imperceivable. So all that does is does all the conversion. When the thin films come on, you have two major plants now making this. Everybody familiar with the Palace of Auburn Hills? Right across the street, there's two 30-megawatt plants. 30 megawatt means 30 million watts of production. Okay, that's production of product. That's of this product. Plant number 1 is up and running, is totally sold out. Plant number 2 at 30 megawatts right across from Auburn, the Palace, that's starting up this week, next week. That's already sold out.
What do you mean by sold out?
The product, the production sold out. It's already spoken for. Plant number 3 and number 4, the building is going up right now. These are not small puppies. These are 205,000 square foot each. $135 million each. There'll be 6 of them in Greenville. When those thin films come online, the first one will come online in the summer of 2007. The second one in Greenville will come online in 2008, and Greenville will be its full complement about 2010. There'll be about 220 million watts of solar cell production in Greenville. 60 in Auburn Hills and 240 in Greenville. Megawatts. That's 2010. What does that mean? That'll drop the price from this to approximately this. That's about 8 to 9 cents per kilowatt hour at the point of use. You can kiss the utility goodbye. This is happening so quickly. Now, are they going to go away? No, they're not going to go away. Most of this, you can't replace all the generation in the United States. Most of this is going to go to Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, California. Or as he does say that in person, he says California. I mean, everybody started laughing. Plus the world. The European Union. Markets are huge in Spain, Italy, Germany. Germany right now is the largest market in the world. So you see why these things are sold out? When you have your full complement of it's going to be sold out. All right. So you've got 2 plants in Auburn Hills. You'll have 6 in Greenville. Total complement by 2010 will be, and I don't know about you folks, but it's 2006 going to 2007. Blink your eyes, right? 2010 will be here, like that. That's when you're going to be out of school. Each plant in Greenville, now these are engineers, minimum salary $25,000 a year, up to $100,000 per year. These are not hamburger flippers. This is real, serious manufacturing. And who's famous for real, serious manufacturing? The state of Michigan is. But they got caught up by the auto industry. They got caught up by some stupid things that they did over the years. And they just got caught up by change. But hold that thought, because this is coming like a freight train.
Is there a union for people that manufacture solar panels or anything? Would they have to deal with a union?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think part of it is union. A lot of these installers, like in California, they're Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Union. Look, I'm all for unions too, okay? If they take care of people and people work hard and deserve what they get, they should have some representation. If not, you're approaching slavery. I'm just saying approaching. There are some companies that work very well, like Steelcase, that are non-unionized, and they take excellent care of their people. So I think part of it will be. I don't think the whole thing is.
I've been sick of, as everyone else, of the whole governor race and
Yep.
everything that's going on. But why isn't this out there?
Well, if you heard the second debate, Granholm, and I have to show my loyalty, I believe in Jennifer Granholm very much so, but you don't have to agree with me on that. She mentioned Unisolar 6 times,
Oh, okay.
and she was very instrumental in bringing that plant there.
Yeah.
Very instrumental. And that's not a paid political announcement. Trust me, that's the truth. All right, so you're talking jobs, jobs, and more jobs. Each plant in Greenville will have about 250 people. Again, salaries start at $25,000, go up to $100,000. These are real jobs. Now, that's at the plant. There's a multiplier of about 6 to 7 times those jobs per plant. Installing, design, sales and marketing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is going to be a boom to this state, an absolute boom. And again, go to Greenville. They're in the ground. Number 4s and 3s in the ground, and you'll see it in your thing I gave you here. This is directly from Photon International, and it's said Unisolar reports 2006 results, builds 4th Michigan plant. It's next to the 2 pages from the back, so it's the 3rd page in the back. So jobs, jobs, and more jobs. So I think you can see, and then as you take this phenomena here, that'll be the largest thin film plant in the world. And what I put behind the pretty colored picture, you'll see an analysis of solar energy from this last conference that I just came back from one of the, this is a French group, I think, investment houses, telling you about the future of solar energy, talking about energy conversion devices, which is United Solar Ovonic, same company. And you'll see specific emphasis on thin films. Thin film prospects continue to grow and gain attention. At this conference, there were over 200 investment bankers putting their money or looking to put their money in this industry. 200. Last year there were 2,000 attendees. This year there were 6,000 attendees. And Silicon Valley realizes now and is telling the world that because of this graph here, this industry will be $1 trillion. They're grabbing onto this big time. But you will have the largest plant of thin films in the world in your backyard. The warning here, the advice here is grab onto it and run as fast as you can go, because this is your future. And everybody in the world, including the Beijing Art Museum, we had a group come in to the end. Remember that day? There was about 8 of them, and they were all talking about 3 or 4 hours, and interpreters and stuff like that. They went all over the world. It was, communist country, so everybody has to go in a group. For 2 years, they went all over the world looking for the definitive technology to put on there. They want to tell the world in 2008, where they have the Olympics, the Summer Olympics, right? They want to tell the world that they're not only on the cutting edge, but they are a green, environmentally savvy country. Their #1 spot, or their focal point, will be the Beijing Art Museum. After their trip to the Merrick Center, about 2 or 3 months after that, the Merrick Center has 30,000 watts of United Solar Ovonics solar cells on its roof. They put up, and it's working now at the Beijing Art Museum, which is the focal point for the world to see, 300,000 watts. That directly came because their decision was made when they saw what they saw at the Merrick. Your energy center. Grand Valley State University's energy center. So, when you put this all together, the thin films have 1/100th the material of traditional solar cells, and these plants, they're all robotics. So you have the robotic world, you have advanced manufacturing, you have the electrical generation world, you have the solar cell world, all in your backyard. And you have the best energy conversion devices is the mother company of United Solar Ovonic. This is their presentation, their solar presentation to the world. They give this all the time. They just gave it in the UK about a month ago. 2 of the buildings are right here. One's at Aquinas, and the other one's your Merrick Center. They show these to the world as their examples. So when you put this all together, you're entering a $1 trillion a year industry, growth of 50 to 55% a year. And now you start adding the infinity of the photovoltaics, the infinity of the rechargeable battery, because everything, this has a battery. I don't see any wires except for my head, which doesn't work most of the time, to this thing. All right? As you go into the wireless world, this is infinity, and as you practice more and more energy efficiency, the world's largest purveyor of efficient, energy-efficient appliances, they're called Energy Star, is Whirlpool. Where's the world headquarters of Whirlpool? That's right. On Energy Conversion Devices Board of Directors is one of your professors, who was formerly a big executive at Whirlpool, Robert Fry. So this school has so much going for it. Open it up and let it rip. Because this is your future. If you want to work for Ford, I hate to take them as an example, but you know what I mean?
I see windows up there on the board, and I've gotten a chance to speak with Unisolar's CEO.
Right.
And you mentioned that there's a building in Grand Rapids that was going to be built with solar cells that acted as windows. They were transparent.
Right.
And you could
That's
see right through them.
that's what my other company that I started is called Tsn Energy, and that's what we're doing.
Can you tell us any more about that? I mean, I don't want you to.
Yeah, I have a window in the car, but I'm not going to traipse it up here.
Okay.
What it is, it's it's 2-piece, it's a sandwich. Glass substrate, glass cover slip. On the glass substrate is a very, very thin 0.6 micron of amorphous silicon, vapor deposited, and then covered by a glass. And then there's laser scribe, so you can see through it. So it allows natural light through. It makes electricity, but it also acts as a shade, so it reduces heating and ventilation.
And like you could cover a whole skyscraper with those, would it generate more energy than the building would need?
Yep. Go out to, you've seen pictures of Las Vegas. So many of these big buildings anywhere, that's all they are, glass. Yeah, that's the skin of the building. The roof, the glass, and what is called the fascia, or the coverings of the building. It's all going to be this stuff. Keep the questions coming. Again, I'm an old man. I've been doing this for 25 years, okay? And I've seen enormous changes. And I wished I was 30, 35 years old. This is your future. This is just going to be a trillion here. Can you imagine what a trillion cubed is? And everybody's walking around, depressed because there's not enough sun here, and everything's going to heck in a handbasket. Your cup is half full. It's not half empty. Trust me. I've been at this stuff for 25 years. I've seen things that you show these pictures to the world, and they're absolutely blown away, because your Merrick Center not only has the solar cells, has a very large nickel metal hydride battery UPS backup, has a microturbine, which is a small jet engine that makes electricity, and it has a 250,000 watt fuel cell run by natural gas. And they're also going to be using the waste, farm waste in the area from the dairies and digest that and make methane. Big, big secret. Natural gas that you pay dearly for and you'll pay a lot more for, all it is methane. The vast majority, 95% of it is methane. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're taking farm waste, digesting it to form methane. They're going to bring it to the energy center and run it through the fuel cell. So you've got things going on here that I was just at Palo Alto, California. My son, he's an electrical engineer at University of Michigan. That's where he wants to go for his PhD. Whether he gets in or not, I don't know. But so I toured the campus. I mean, Stanford University doesn't have this. MIT doesn't have this. If you get anything from what I said today, all the gobbledygook, damn it, wake up. You have this. You have an energy center that is a world-class energy center. You have a water resources energy center that's world-class, fresh water. And you have a sustainable business program. If you're going to run out of oil, and I don't care, pick a number, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, it doesn't matter. Okay? It's taken 100 years to go through half. You're going to burn up the other half. You can't run a sustainable business. How are you going to fly to Cancun? On a kite? How are you going to ship all these products from China? On a string? Pull a string? You need energy. If you're going to run out of the major source of energy in this period of time, everything, Walmart, the medical industry, medical research, everything will collapse. Unless you go down the paths of new forms of energy, be it coal to liquids, be it more nuclear energy, be it photovoltaics, be it wind. You can't, but the major, going back to this, there are some countries that, in our country here, I can't remember the exact percentage, it's small, 3, 4, 5, 6% of the electricity is made by oil. You go to Spain, 8% of the electricity is made by oil. You go to Italy, it used to be 30 or 40%. They've reduced enormously. And then if you go to the coal aspect of things, if you don't do it right, this is the problem you're creating. So there's a lot of options. I'm not saying photovoltaics is the only option, but you've got so much going here. You have so much right in your backyard, whether it's the plant in Greenville, whether it's Steelcase, whether it's Workstage, whether it's your Merrick Center, whether it's your Annis Water Resources, whether it's your sustainability program. This school has a lot. Questions?
How feasible is it to power your own house?
Oh, you have a house here, and again, I work very closely with Mr. Wege, the Wege Foundation, was the founder. His father founded Steelcase. Peter funded the Jarecki Center. Peter's funded several other footprints. He also funded a home in just northwest. It's St. Anthony's of Padua. It's the priest's home. It's 4,000 square feet. It has 1.8 kilowatts or 1,800 watts of this solar cell on the roof. It has energy efficient lighting. It's a LEED. Does everybody know what LEED certified means? Everybody know? If you don't know, raise your hand because it's critical. You all know what it means. It's a LEED it was the first LEED certified residential home in the world. It's LEED certified gold. And it just appeared in the New York Times real estate section. Grand Rapids, Michigan. You have it. It's right here. It's 2 miles, well, no. Grand Rapids is that way, right? It's about 5 miles from here. That home, 4,000 square feet with all the amenities, information centers, computer centers, entertainment centers, washer, dryer, microwave oven, anything you could think of. Single-digit electric bills, $8 a month. Now, that's not every month. Obviously, it's not going to be October, November. That was June. The July bill went up to $19. This is extraordinary for the 42nd parallel. All right? You now take that solar fuel that you get here and go to areas like Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, California. Katie, bar the door. To answer your question, yes. You can power the whole. Well, again, like I say, right now in today's world, that system was $8 a watt installed. It's 1.8 kilowatts. So, is that right? $15,000 that system was. But that was a grant from Mr. Wegge. You then take 30, in today's world, now that was done several years ago, in today's world you take 30% of that off. That's the federal tax bill. There was a ceiling of that of $2,000. It's going to go to $4,000. All right? So you take $4,000, so you're at $11,000. There are areas, not here, because this state is so backward when it comes to its regulation of the power industry. It's controlled by consumers and Detroit Edison. Shame on them. They got this evolving in their back door. Shame on them. They should be encouraging it. You go to some states where you get a $3 to $4 per watt, beside the federal, you get a $3 to $4 per watt incentive. You go to Arnold Schwarzenegger, he'll give you $3 per watt. He's got a $3 billion cache of money specifically for that. Okay? So you take another 3 times 2, another $6,000 off of that. So you see where I'm going? The system will be under a $10,000 system. The payback for that system, when you add the incentives and the CO2, you can also sell the CO2 credits. The payback for a system like that with those type of electric bills, don't forget now, deregulation is off January 1st. Your bills around here are going to go up about 20%. 10, 15, 20%. It's different from state to state because they're all different regulators. So a building like that would be maybe an 8 to 10 year payback. Now, if you go up 50%, you cut that in half. So there's a lot of things changing and a lot of things happening now. But what you've got to remember is forget you're at the 42nd parallel for a second. Forget what's going on right now as far as on the consumption side, on the demand side. On the supply side, you've got the monster in your backyard. That's going to supply the world, including China. China wanted these machines that are going in there. Finally, you know, after we lose flat panel displays, after we lose this, after we lose that, finally this country, this innovative, wonderful country, is starting to get smart. No, we're not shipping the machines so you can compete with us. We'll ship you the product, and you can fabricate it into whatever you want, but you're not getting the machines. The largest footprint in the world of these machines is in your backyard. That product will go all over the world. Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me. Spread the word. Tell the world you are going to a world-class school and you've got world-class technology here, and demand that they take advantage of it because it's your future.